started?
Yeah, well, it's been a minute since we've been here.
It was a season. We did a season.
Yeah, it was a season, and we had some good reviews from everything. And the Bass Musician Magazine asked us to keep making more. So here we are.
We're back.
Season 2.
We're back.
Yes.
It's like Kyle's cousin Kyle.
Yes.
We're back.
And so where do you want to get started with this?
Well, why don't we kick it off, since it is Working Class Zeros?
Yeah.
Let's talk about where we start. So let's talk about, like, you're back in the scene, okay? So you're a player, you decide, hey, I want to start playing again. Maybe you're coming out of, many years of not playing, maybe work life, maybe you're retired now and you can play, or maybe you're divorced and you have free time. Something like that might happen, and you find yourself
plenty
in a
of people who've been in those situations.
Yep, where they stop playing because people in their life prevented them from playing, and now they're back.
Yep.
So where do you start to get your feet wet again? How do you start networking again?
Well, for me, I started in the open mic scene, that was kind of like what we were talking about, maybe getting into some of that stuff.
So let's talk about the open mic scene.
Yeah.
So that would be a really great place to start. So the open mic scene, if you're a player and you're just looking to network with some different players. Now the problem is the open mic scene, depending on what you're playing, right?
Yeah, and where you are.
Could be very different. So if you decide that, hey, you're a jazz guy and you want to hit the open mic scene, you may be a little surprised at what you come across. It may not be your standard open mic scene.
Yeah, especially like if you go to you end up going to like a cutting room, that's not going to be like a good inviting place for like, if you're like, well, I guess if you're a proficient player, like you could hang for something like that. But if you're somebody trying to get into the area, into the scene,
but if you're just trying to get into the scene, you might find yourself at an open mic you're playing, rawhide. You're playing something that's like, you're gonna play like the standards, like not the standards from the real book. We're talking about standards, like whipping post. You're gonna walk into a situation like that where people are gonna call tunes. Or as a bass player, you're probably not going to get to call the tune. You're probably going to just end up coming up and playing with somebody, which isn't a bad situation to be in, because if you can hold your own and kind of familiarize yourself with the material before time, so when you show up, or just go and hang out for a little bit, see what people are calling there. You find the scene, start to scout it out, see what people are calling, what they're playing, who the guys are, right? Same thing with a jazz jam. It's like, hey, you don't go and jump in your first time there. You might go and watch a little bit, kind of get the lay of the land.
Yeah, you're speaking more just kind of like your standard kind of like acoustic open mic, showing up somewhere. Yeah, one of the best things you could do is go there, and for me, it was I said yes, and I played with everybody who asked for me to go and support them. I was like, oh sure, I'll go up there and play with you. And then they would just kind of go to me like, it's just like a 1-4-5, and then there's like a 6 turnaround, and I'll look to you when the change happens. So like you do learn some of like the nonverbal cues. You learn a lot of the standard changes. You're gonna learn you're gonna get a whole playbook essentially of standard tunes that people call at those types of gigs on a regular basis, and then you can pretty much go to any one of those types of open mics, sit in, and I would say 80 to 85% of the songs that are going to get called, and then they're going to throw an original at you, and you're just going to have to follow along the best you can.
But it's not a bad idea if you go and show up a little bit early, like go and watch it and see. Use one of the notes applications on your phone. Most iPhones have a notes app, and what you can do is you start to jot down what the songs are that people are calling, because there are standards that they play. There are just those classic songs that everybody knows. So if you're just trying to get your feet wet, get in the door, get connected, know what they're going to call, so that when it comes time that you have to join in, or you want to join in, you know what you're swimming in, right? Yeah. So it's not a bad idea. Now, what you might find down the road is if you start doing it, you start becoming a regular, you might find yourself as part of the backup band. You might find yourself in that situation where you go from being the person showing up to being part of the band that's doing the open mic. Now, that's a different environment, because you're probably going to get paid.
You should be getting paid.
Probably getting paid.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's some people out there that do it for the love of music, and like, it's just like their night out, and like that's totally fine too. Because again, remember, the open mic is supposed to be like open and inviting for everybody to kind of come and hang out. Some people are there just because they want to enjoy playing with other people. Like that's totally acceptable and fine. Other people who are like maybe like you're trying to become a working musician in the area. You use this as a networking opportunity. You get to meet some people who are already gigging in the area. Maybe they're doing solo acoustic stuff, and they have this dream of having a trio, so they want to have a bass and a drummer behind them. And now, next thing you know, like you're playing with like a percussionist doing the open mic, and now that guy's like, "Hey, can I call you guys next Saturday? I have a gig coming up." So like maybe you make like a bill or something.
You're talking about making a connection after that. I'm just talking
that's
about
the connection that starts there.
Okay,
it starts
right,
there.
right. But sometimes you just end up in, like, we know a couple guys who are the open mic guys. That's all they do, right?
It's about finding the opportunity and being able to capitalize on it. But yes, there are the open mic guys that just, that's their gig.
Yeah. They make, and they do it well, and then some of them are doing it like, 3-4 times a week, and that's okay. That's quite all right. If you want to do that, and that's your thing, that's quite all right. But what happens is, once you get that and you start building that out, you have to be ready for other people to use your gear. That's the other side of that.
Oof.
That's where that gets a little shaky. And that happens too when you're on tour and you're sharing amps, or you're sharing, a lot of times you're not sharing an instrument, but you're sharing an amp. Now, normal open mics, people bring their own instruments. Once in a while, you will have the one guy who's like, "Hey, I want to sit in and play, and I don't have my instrument." You have to let him use your bass or your amp. Now, that's when you kind of want to control the scene, right? Like a lot of times, like I've hosted open jazz jams, and I've done stuff like that. I've even hosted open mics.
Yep.
And what I had was I had a cheap amp that I didn't care about. It wasn't cheap, but it was an older amp. And that one I had set up, and I had it kind of set that it couldn't be messed up too badly, so that if somebody jumped in and they wanted to do something, they were in an okay situation. Now I left it that way. And I also had an instrument that I used just for the open mic, so if somebody wanted to use it, okay, go ahead, have at it. But that way it wasn't like my 69P bass or one of the other ones that I really love that I don't want somebody to mess with, right? So go there with the plan. If you are hosting, go there with a that worked out idea of, this is the stuff I'm going to let other people use, because you start it and you might hand it off.
Yeah, that type of a scenario where you're bringing gear that it's not your best stuff. You don't want to bring your best stuff to something like that where other people are going to be wanting to touch it, use it, and you don't know how they're going to treat it necessarily. It's kind of like a house drum kit, where everyone just beats the hell out of it. It's you want to be a little careful about that, because you don't know how they're going to behave. Are they going to dig in there? Are they going to pop a string? And now for the rest of the night you only got 3 strings. What are you going to do?
And then the plan is that you would go with I normally would have a bag that had extra stuff in. So if I needed to change a string, if I had an extra cable, you have to go prepared. It's like going fishing. If you go fishing without your tackle box, good luck.
Yeah, but it's one of those scenarios where it's like, come on, man. Yeah. Respect somebody else's gear.
That is true. Now that's another thing too. That's a whole nother level. Because even when you're touring and you're sharing an amp, you have somebody that beats the shit out of your stuff. You're like, okay, guys, be kind to the gear. It's like, I need this for the next location. Mm-hmm. So, but most people respect that. I mean, once in a while you'll get somebody who's kind of heady about that will do that, and then that's when you kind of step in and you shut that down. Right? You have to politely, always have the higher ground on that. You don't want to go in and create the scene. Do it politely, like, hey, you know what? I just want to let you know that if you do drive this a little hard, it's going to break up on you. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Okay, sounds good. Yep. So polite always works, no matter what the scenario is, right? Mm-hmm. So open mic gigs, great opportunity, great way to connect, great way to build a repertoire, great way to build a network, right?
Yeah, and even a resume. It's a way of just saying all right, well, you now played with a bunch of different people, just doing little sets. You're ready to go and get a gig somewhere. If you're that green with the whole scene and whatnot, it's I play over here every Friday night over at this open mic. Let me come over here and I can play or something. Or it's a great opportunity to get a video of yourself doing something and use it for promotional purposes to then get the gig.
Or even a lot of times people will ask you again, if you're applying for a gig, even if you're using Craigslist, right? Mm-hmm. There's always do you have a video of yourself playing? It's even the local bands. A lot of times they want to see if you can play, mm-hmm. before you show up. Having yourself playing at an open mic, if you're familiar with the guys, you make it out a few times. I wouldn't do it on the first time. But if you go out and you build a relationship with the guys that show up to the open mic, it's a great opportunity. You can build a repertoire out of it, and you can get a video element out of it, which is good too.
Yeah, it's bare bones, but it's a good way to get started.
It's something. It's something to have. It's more than what you had before.
Yeah, especially when you go to a new area. How do you meet the musicians? You got to go and you got to be where the musicians are, and maybe it's not the top tier of people that you're running into at the open mics, but it's people that are out there doing it still. So that's a good way to get your foot in the door.
And it's a good way if you have a drive and an idea. So you might be the one who books the gigs, but you need the people to network with to say, okay, well, what we're going to do is this is the next step. So it still puts you into contact with maybe some players that maybe they'll rise to the occasion. You know, you'll find that diamond in the rough, and all of a sudden you have a great player that's working with you. Or you might find, you just go out and you see him and, hey, this guy's, hanging out. He's a great player, or she, or whoever. And you're like, let's build this band. And something comes of it. It's still that relationship. So it is a great place. So don't undercut the open mic, whether it's jazz, whether it's rock, whatever it is. Don't overlook it. It is a great opportunity, especially if you're coming back in the scene, or if you're in a new scene.
Sure.
If you're new in the area, like you said. So let's close this one out because I think this is pretty good. What do you think?
I agree.
Good. So let's talk about something else. 5-string basses.
Yes.
Do we like them?
I do, to a degree.
I don't.
To a degree.
I do not. I have one, but I don't default to it because the 5-string is interesting. And again, the 5-string is I think it's like a two-faced instrument, right? Because my 5-string has a high C and your 5-string has a
low B.
Yeah. So it's two different approaches to music. So my 5-string I tend to use for jazz and fusion stuff. Whereas I think the low B is kind of lends itself more to rock and R&B, right?
Rock, country, just in general, for me, I utilize it for all the singer-songwriters have different key changes, or just songs in just odd keys. Like it's gonna be in E flat, or it's gonna be in D flat, or something like that. Something where it's not so convenient, of a key to be able to play in on just a 4-string. Because I love my P bass. I love my 4-string. That's my go-to. It's my number one bass.
It feels like home, right?
Yeah, that's where I want to be. I want to be on a 4-string P.
We're a little biased here,
but I mean, it's just purists. We're purists.
I love Fender.
But then like the 5-string B, like for me, like that, it comes in handy for like the wedding band gigs where like, okay, you're gonna play on a bunch of different keys. Okay, so I just need to be versatile. I need to be able to kind of like move to wherever I need to go. And sometimes they don't put the song in the original key. They put it in a flat key, all because of horns. Now there's a horn section.
Or singers.
Or singers. Yeah. So like all of that's to me, it's like a safety net of like the versatility of what I might need to have to do in the moment. It's not my go-to.
You only really gain 5 extra notes.
Yeah, no, that's it. But to me,
Victor's saying that too.
Yeah, but to me, it's not about that. It's about the positioning. It's
right.
The hand positioning on the instrument, being able to reach notes easier.
True. Now, I like to play. Sometimes I'll throw in a drop D, and I find when you're in a 5-string, drop D is not really a thing because then you're having to play it as a closed fingering instead.
It does not work the same.
The high C, on the other hand, you do gain a lot more notes because you are adding another range. But then what happens is, who's playing the bass? It once you go in, especially if you're soloing and you're soloing in a higher range like a 6-string, it is nice. I mean, there's elements of that I really like because you have that extra high C, and we know like Yannick, Matt Garrison, Adrian, all those guys are using the 5-string of the high C, and especially Steve Swallow. I mean, he was kind of the original, right? He was a 5-string of the high C with a pick. So we end up in this interesting place. Now, I love that bass. I don't use it very often.
It's a very particular sound and particular set of skills for that. Like, when you're doing the solos in jazz, or you're doing something very melodic higher up in the neck, a lot of maybe like chord arrangement.
I do a lot of chording with it.
Yeah, I would say like that's where that really comes in handy because now you can get more voicings.
And again, it's positionally, right? Because now it's like if I have to shift all the way up, I can just do it sometimes in a lower range.
I would never bring that for like a wedding band gig.
No, I probably wouldn't bring it for almost any gig. I mean, to be honest, you show up, people are going to be like, it fits in its place. It's definitely like in a jazz or jazzy fusion-y kind of place, it'll fit in. But if you show up at a rock gig with a high C,
you're never going to touch it.
Or you're going to get the looks. You get the look.
Maybe.
Because, especially with the high C. If you have a low B, maybe something, but again, it's, depending on how boutique the bass is too, you get the Federa look.
Yeah, they expect you to play. You're going to play 1,000 notes tonight, right?
Yep, that's right.
Per song.
All of them. I'm going to play all the notes. I'm going to play all the notes tonight. That's the plan. All the notes. Which notes are you going to play? All of them.
Yeah, which ones you want? I'll play double.
But the reality is that you'll make less money. but you get to play all the notes.
Well, yeah, that's a trade-off.
There's something to be said about saying less, right?
I think so.
Phrasing and
spacing.
Space, phrasing. It doesn't mean that you can't play those higher notes. Those higher notes are very nice melodically, but again, it's a reach, And I found too is like I'm so used to a 4-string that even when I move to the 5 with the high C, sometimes it throws me off because there is a element of it's the layout of the instrument. Like the 4-string I'm so familiar with, and it's just the pattern of it. I know how the pattern lies out. I know the entire neck. As soon as you throw in another string, it's like, okay, it throws me off.
To me, it's the
symmetry.
It's well, I guess a little bit of the symmetry, but also like it's the way it feels in the hand. Where like if I'm expecting to play on like the D string, I can kind of like I can close my eyes and just kind of like know like where the notes are going to be because like where it's going to fall in my hand. But then like when I go to add another string in there, now that's my G string in the same spot. It feels, it's just different. It's not the same.
And when you have a 5, it's a center string, right? So when you think of the layout, I think a 6 for me is easier to play than a 5 is. Because the layout is more even, when you think about the strings, like how they're laid out. So when I play on my 5 string with a high C, my D is in the middle. When you play on a 5 string with a low B, your A is in the middle. Yeah, the symmetry is off, so all of a sudden it kind of throws you into a loop. Now,
but for some reason, like for me, like again because of my hands, like the 5 string with the low B feels more comfortable because I'm used to playing 4. Yeah. So like adding that low B at the top, it's almost like out of sight, out of mind, especially if I'm playing something that's maybe higher on the neck. If I'm doing something like that, it's gone. I'm not even thinking about it. It only really appears when I want to hit that low D, low C. Yeah. That's the only real time that low B string is coming in handy.
I can see that.
But like otherwise, like the D string, that's kind of like always been like the judge for me. It's kind of like where it falls in like my index finger. It's like, all right, I know where that is, and I can kind of feel where all the rest of the notes are going to be around that.
I always like the D, and I feel like for me, I use the hip shot.
Yeah.
Like I like using a low D. Using the low D. So a hip shot, being able to drop the string down from E to D or even D flat. And I have a hip shot that has multiple setting on it, so you can drop it down to a B.
2, right?
You can do 2 different settings on it. So, because coming out of like the '90s and grunge, everything was a drop D, right? So having that low D does give you the ability to kind of drop it, and it again, symmetry is good on that because you have D, A, D, G.
Do you have a hip shot on your 4 string right now?
Not on my P basses. I have it on my music bands, but I don't have it on any of the P basses.
Yeah, I have it on my Fender P just because it's a newer one. To me, I'm like I'm not really that concerned about keeping it like vintage. It's a 16 I think. I'm not concerned.
Yeah, so my 69, 74 and 78,
I
don't have it on there. I aesthetically I like to keep them the same, so it's like original hardware.
Sure,
as much
that
as
makes sense. Yeah, you want to keep that original.
And my Music Man, I have a Music Man, the Cutlass, which is like a P. That one I have a hip shot on. And
so again, it's your choice what you want to do, but I agree having that hip shot on a 4 string, it basically covers all the bases you wanted because if what Steve's saying is it's very true. Like if you're doing a lot of like maybe like 80s or 90s music and whatnot, there's going to be like a low D occasionally. You just have that little switch.
E flat, yeah.
You have that switch. You can hit all those notes. It doesn't change anything really. And like to me, the timbre of an open D, like a low D, just sounds so much better than fretting a D on a B string. Yeah. Like it's just a different feel. Like and to me, like that's why the 4 string feels like home. Yeah. Even with the hip shot. So much better. It
just makes more sense. It feels natural. I'm a 4 string guy, and I know a lot of guys that are all 5, and that's okay. If you're a 5 string guy, that's awesome. So I mean, it's just another tool in the toolbox. I mean, there's guys that were 7 strings. The 3 string Music Mans are making a comeback. I've seen a couple guys who bought the.
Oh really?
Yeah, because there was the 3 string that Tony Levin had. Yeah, his burned up in the fire, and then Newstead had one. Somebody just bought his 3 string Music Man.
Oh wow!
So 3s,
a little gimmicky.
Well, not really. I mean, 3 string basses. There were 3 string upright basses for a long time.
Really?
So,
I did not even know about that.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're going back to Bottesini and stuff like that, there's that out there. But there's options like 5, 6, 7, 9, whatever. There's less of those extended range basses these days, which
that was where it was kind of becoming a little bit gimmicky, but like it was a lot of like the tapping, a lot of the tapping and the chord melody, or like bass line with the melody line over top of it. I mean, like, beautiful stuff. Yeah, beautiful stuff for sure. And like, but like, it's very particular in what you can do and what you're not going to take that to a gig.
Well, I think unless you're in King Crimson.
Yes, that's it. Tony Levin's allowed to get away with all of that.
Oh, Tony Levin. Well, Tony Levin was playing Chapman. Yeah, but then
10 strings on that. Yeah.
Well, then you had Trey. Is it Trey? Not Trey. He's a war guitar guy playing with King Crimson.
Blue?
No, not Adrian Blue. What was Trey's last name? He's the guy. He was the guy with him now.
Oh, okay.
But neither here nor there. So we're gonna move on. So look it up. I'm brain farting on that at the moment. Well, let's move on to our next topic.
Leave a comment and tell them who it is.
I'll find out who it is in 30 seconds. But let's move on. So let's talk about the next thing that's gear for the job. So one of the things that you come to, especially if you have a crappy amp or an okay amp, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of us have like small okay amps that we use, or we have really good amps. We might have an array. Hopefully you have more than one.
Yeah.
Ideally you should have more than one amp, because in case something happens, you're not running out trying to find an amp from somebody to borrow for a gig.
Yeah, your nice amp that you save for the really good gigs, and then you have your beater that you bring to the bars.
Yeah, or even like if you might have a combo, like I recently picked up that Mesa Boogie that I'm using, it's a Mesa Walkabout, so it's not new, it's an older amp, but I picked it up used, and I just needed it for moving quickly because I needed to get in and out, and I didn't want to carry the Ampeg SVT everywhere, which I love my SVT. Love it, but at a bar that you barely have enough room to stand in, why would I bring that in there?
You weigh out your options when
Absolutely.
It comes to that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there is a trick for taking maybe an amp that is okay sounding and beefing it up and giving it a little bit of let's say, giving it a little flavor, right? So
presence.
What are some of those options you think?
I mean, I know I like. I'm a Sans amp guy.
Okay, so preamps.
Mm-hmm.
So placing a preamp and not just going from the bass to the amp. Now, I like bass to amp as well. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's a good thing, bass to amp. But sometimes having something in the signal chain is a good option.
Yeah, that's the way I've always kind of gone about it. I put it in front of the amp. I tend to run the amp kind of flat. Maybe I roll off a little bit of the bass on the amp itself, but then like my EQing and signal is really coming from the preamp. And then the reason I do it that way is because I want to be able to send it to the amp, and then also if, let's say, I'm working with a stage that has a front of house, I want to be able to also send the same signal to them, and then they can shape whatever they need to on the front end, where it might change within like the room.
Sure. So I've been a Noble guy I've had one for over a year now. I've been using my Noble, and I love my Noble. However, I love tube preamps and I love tube amps.
Yes.
But I came across something new, so I'm probably more tubey and you're more solid state. What do you say?
I mean, I love a good tube sound. I'm more, I guess, open to the ideas of what a good solid state can bring to the table.
Okay, so we brought two different amps. So I have this one, which I just got recently, which is by Booyah Amplification. It's called the Filament. So this one is kind of like my Noble, but it has a little bit more EQing stage, and it has a lot more personality, I found. And you were talking about the DI. So this one does have the DI, which I really like, because if I want that beat, this one has the character of a bass man. But by messing with the gain, like bringing that gain up a little bit, I give it a little bit of that fuzz drive of an SVT. So it kind of covers the range of that period that I really like, which is like
who doesn't
SVT.
love a good SVT sound?
I love the Bassman too. The Fender Bassman is incredible. Those are two amps that I always pined after, was the SVT and the Bassman.
Yeah.
Both £1 million, but they sound incredible. So this one gives us the ability then to run into the front of house, but this one has an extra step in it. It has a different gain ratio here. If I go high, I can actually run this right into a power amp and use this as the preamp in. So, which is really amazing because it actually boosts the signal quite a bit. So I can just run it into the power amp section, or bypass, go into the effects return, and then run everything through here, bypass that preamp section. So sometimes you have an amp that has like kind of a bad preamp section, and being able to use this as your preamp, all of a sudden you took, like, say you have a Fender Rumble, right? And you want to add a tube into the Fender Rumble. Like, for instance, like my Walkabout is a 2 preamp with a solid state power amp.
Mm-hmm.
So the Rumble is solid state. All of a sudden, you're adding tubes to the preamp section.
Yeah, you can really warm up the signal,
which is pretty great. So in this one, this Booyah amplifiers out of New Jersey. Price point is about $650.
Yeah,
which is incredible because when I bought my Noble, I paid close to $2,000 for it and had to wait. I bought mine used and just paid $2,000, and most people are buying them now. My buddy Cody, he's buying one, and he ordered his almost a year ago and still waiting on it. They haven't even started to produce it, and he paid $1,700 for it, so he's still waiting for that. And I said to him, I was like, dude, you got to hear this because this thing, for me, it's on par or slightly above what my Noble did.
And also, you mentioned before to me like about the EQ, where they have a mid-range boost. And to me, like the mid-range boost is something that some of these like older, the older preamps, they miss that. They don't have like the mid-range, and they try to make the
DI level,
DI level too on that. So, but the mid thing is important because that's a lot about the shaping of the sound.
It is.
And when I was talking to you earlier, I was like how the old Sans amps used to just have bass and treble, and it's like, well, I want to boost the mids. How am I supposed to do that? And it's like, well, just cut the bass and cut the treble. Like, no. That's not boosting. That's cutting. You're cutting away from the signal. If you think of it as a flat line and you're cutting away, nothing is really boosted. You've created you've created like the hill, but it's down here. I wanted it up here.
Yeah, well, that's the B15. The B15 had bass and treble, and what you had to do is you're scooping it out like that.
Yeah.
So I'm not a huge fan of. I used to be a huge fan of really pushing mids, but I can tell you, like, this one is so sweet as I dial it in. And it's like, because there's that frequency sometimes that you're just like, you're either boosting it or pulling it out because the room changes, right? Not every room is equal.
Right.
Some rooms, even, depending on, even if you're playing outside and the echo is wrong, so being able to EQ that and finding that exact sweet spot is really important. I was always a set and forgetting kind of guy, and I like that because I have a sound that I'm always looking for that, and I feel like this one, I couldn't believe how good this was.
But once you find like that sound, it's just little tiny tweaks around what you like in order to reach that again. Because a concrete room is not going to sound the same as going into a studio versus playing outside.
Sure.
All very different scenarios, and you're going to hear your ear's going to tell you what's lacking.
And this is two 12 AX7s in here. So we have two 12 AX7s, very similar to the Noble.
Yeah.
Out of New Jersey.
Yeah, and half the price.
Right? It's like a 3-week turnaround.
So, I mean, if anything, if you were in the market for a Noble, it would be worth checking out just because of the money you'd be saving at the very least.
You're actually upgrading. If you're in the market for a Noble and you're willing to wait, it's fine. You might see mine on Talk Bass shortly, so you might find one. Now I'm gonna tell you, I'm probably gonna sell it for around the price I paid for it, but but this,
they're in demand because then you would get it the next day.
But this thing is amazing for the turnaround and price point. I highly recommend it because the sound is amazing. It's very tubey. What did you bring with you, Sean?
So this is a newer, a tool. Like I was going to say toy, essentially, but it is a tool. I do use it that I picked up, and it's because I am a fan of the Sans Amp sound. I've been using a Sans Amp bass driver DI for I don't know how many years now. Ever since the version 2 came out with like the mid boost, that's the only one that I used. It's been on my board for years. I have not rearranged my board in like I don't know how many years, 5-6 years or something like that. And this is the first piece of gear that I felt so compelled to purchase since then. The first one I bought in like many years. And the reason I got it was because this is the XB driver. Yeah, this is the Sans Amp XB driver. And what's really great about this that I found was the fact that it's basically like a bi-amp rig in a box. So you have like the silver knobs up top. That's like your standard EQ. That's your clean bass signal, and you have like your master owl, and then like you have a level for this one as well. But then like the red knobs in the bottom, that's going to be your dirt signal. That's kind of like if you had like almost kind of like I think like Justin Chancellor would use like 2 different bass rigs. He would have like a dirty signal, and then you also have a clean signal for when he was playing with Tool and whatnot. Like I guess it's only gig, right? Yeah. So like you don't really need another gig after that. But like just saying that having that, you can mix the two together, or you can switch between the two. There's so many different settings for this. I don't think I've even like really gone through everything that you can do with this. I kind of set it up to what worked for me, because you know what we were talking about before is this is going to get you a fantastic like tube sound, like that really warm sound.
Yeah.
Or if you want, at least if you want to add the SVT
you
kind of bite to it,
add a little bit of fuzz to it.
yeah, so you can set it up. You're going to get a great signal out of that. This is going to get you like, again, like a great clean tone. But then what I really enjoyed about it was, for a few of the songs that I want to have a little bit more gain to. I want to have a little bit of like a fuzz, like the sizzle behind it. Like I can hit the mix button and then just add it in and then take it right back out. So like to me, like when I'm doing like the Elvis tribute shows, I'm pretty much clean the entire night, except for when I play Polk Salad Annie and it comes time for the bass solo. I hit the mix button. Now I have the bass with the fuzz signal behind it.
Yeah.
I go do my bass solo. I take my steps back, hit the mix button. I'm back to playing clean again.
Good.
It's a good tool to be able to do that on the fly. And you have like the DI out. You have like the effects loop right in here. The only thing that's I would say maybe a downside to this would be the fact that it's an 18 volt DC, so it takes a very specific type of adapter.
Yeah.
So use the adapter that comes with it. Don't just plug it into your board unless you have like an 18 volt like hookup with like a power supply. That would be the only time I would tell you to really do that. But still, solid piece of gear. This is solid state compared to that being tubed.
Yep.
So again, like I wouldn't say this is not going to be as warm as that, but you can still get a fantastic sound out of this. Because for me, my ear leans towards that more modern bass, kind of like more rock sound, like a little bit more. So like I don't mind that bite that goes along with having that solid state tone.
Yeah, I'm more in that Pinot, you know, a James Jamerson kind of
really
sound,
warm
warm
kind
and
of-
round.
yeah.
I like it real warm and round.
So like two different schools of thought and two different like preamps that are
not that
close
you
in
can't
price.
not that you can't get that out of this. I mean,
No,
you
yeah,
can
no,
drive
you
those
can.
tunes and
You can
really
do
get-
all of it too.
get
But
it
like
really
so,
nice, but
this
it's up to you.
This is probably around like $500. So like maybe like $150 cheaper than picking up something like that. So again, like it's what you're looking for. It's what you're into, and I guess like what your ear is telling you is the right choice.
It's also it's the right tool for the right job. I think that's really part of it too. It's like, and there's no reason, you know, as a musician, I own a Sans amp as well. I own a Noble. I own multiple different preamps.
I have a tube preamp that you sold me years ago.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the low end one,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Which is a good preamp. It's a really good one. And it's nice to have options. And I think that's a big thing too. So this is another situation that you could even say, hey, I'm going to the open mic. What do they have there? Okay, well, I want my sound at the open mic. This is not a bad idea to bring with you and have it that your tone then is yours at the open mic, rather than just, you know, showing up and just plugging your bass and hoping for the best.
And you're not bringing a $2,000 piece of equipment either.
Exactly, unless your bass is $2,000, which it might be if you're taken out there. That does happen. But this gives you the opportunity, if you're walking into the open mic and you want to use this as a participant, you're waiting for your turn, bring your own preamp. You can, and then you know, you can adjust the tone so it's more you rather than whatever's available.
Right.
So the sound is in your hands, but you can also shape that sound with your bass and your amp and your cables.
That's
right?
the beauty
All
of the
those things.
XLR out.
Yep.
Because you can get that signal, put it into the house, because typically it's a PA system at an open mic, right?
So there's a bass amp. They normally don't run the bass amp into the PA though.
It depends. I mean, the ones I've played where there aren't drum sets, like it's going to be like that. So I'm just kind of playing with acoustic guitar players.
Right, so it's another option.
If you're playing like a jam, like going to an open jam, there's going to be a bass amp.
And I've seen guys have used these for in-ears too. So it's like you run that signal out, use your in-ears, and it sounds just like it through the speaker. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So is
is
it necessary? Is it? It's cool, but is it necessary?
I don't think we need to do that anymore.
No?
I think that was last season.
Oh, okay.
We
All
need
right.
to come up with something else for this season.
I thought that's what we're doing. With these.
No, they are necessary. I think it's definitely it's.
I was gonna say yes.
Yes, I would agree too. But I think we need something new for this season. Maybe you guys can help us out with coming up with a new idea for. Besides, you know, it's awesome, but is it necessary? Give us some ideas. What do you think would be a good idea, maybe, for us to talk about? Because
I agree
maybe
with
there's
that.
something else that we can dig into that you might like. We're open to suggestions. Remember, reach out to us. Let us know what you're talking about. What are the things that you're coming up against? because maybe we can have some answers for you, or at least we can, you know, commiserate with you if it's, you know, out there in the world. Because, you know, being a musician and working and trying to make ends meet and do the things that you do and have the family, you know, life is hard. It's hard.
Sure.
And then so this is an escape. This might be, you know, it's your passion. You know, let's talk about it. Let's align on it, right? Let's see where we can meet up. So why don't you guys reach out to us? Let us know what you're talking about. If there's anything that you would like us to address, so that way we can talk about it going further. We'd love to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
As for today, though, I want to thank Bass Musician for hosting us, Bass Musician Magazine for being our host once again.
Yeah.
Love you guys. They've been behind us through this whole thing, and we want to thank them for hosting us and letting us continue to do this.
Absolutely.
And I want to say thank you to all of you that have watched us last time and saw our last season.
Yep.
As we kick off our new season. Hopefully we'll stay on top of it this time and
I think we will.
keep more stuff coming. My name's Steve.
I'm Sean.
And we want to thank you for watching Working Class Zeros, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Take care, guys.
Be well.